Hello, it's me, that divination witch. I hope you're all doing well. Back with another witchy video. This is a more serious video, I suppose. Sensitive topic, you'll have guessed from the title and thumbnail. I'm going to be addressing the term spiritual psychosis and what it is and why is it being thrown around so much and why can it be so problematic, to be honest. So let's get into it. Now, if you don't know who I am, I would just want to say hello and welcome. I'm Sarah, I'm that divination witch, and this is a safe space where you can ask questions. Put it below. Any question is welcome. Nothing silly here. I do try and help as many people as I can. I've got a link tree as well below if you want to support me. I do have a shop. I've got a website, Patreon, where you can help support this channel and help me do what I love and help other people. So I appreciate you. Thanks. So spiritual psychosis. This is the new buzzword, phrase, term that has been chucked around the internet like confetti these days. It is very popular, and I've been guilty of using it myself, especially in the earlier days of the term being coined. I've used it. I hold my hands up. Did I always use it correctly? Probably not. And do people always use it correctly? Well, definitely not. The term psychosis, well, if you don't know what it is, in a nutshell, it's a mental health term for people who are suffering mentally for whatever reason, induced into a psychosis, which is where your brain, in layman's terms, well, kind of makes fantasies a reality in a way. It's hallucinations, it's feeling that you're not real, even that questioning reality on such a big, deep level where it's like, what is real? Who am I? Who are you? Are you real? It's so deep. It's very nuanced and complex. It's not as simple as people make out to be. I know this because I did work a short while in mental health myself. It was early last year, late into the year before. I worked in mental health for a few months. I got a qualification in counselling through it. I helped people in literally times of crisis. I can't say where I worked. I won't get into that whole scenario because it wasn't the best experience, but it wasn't the clients. It wasn't these people who needed help. It was the management of the thing. But I digress. I've literally helped people in psychosis. There was a man who thought demons were chasing him. There was a woman that thought a little leprechaun man was stalking her. And there was someone else who swore that she was going to be unaliving her neighbour just because she hadn't locked the door. All for different reasons. Some people had schizophrenia and serious, deep mental illnesses. Some had deep rooted trauma. I believe one lady was in a cult at one point as a child. Terrible things these poor people have been through. That is true psychosis, when you're convincing yourself of something is real when it's not. You could be hallucinating and suffering, really suffering over it. It can have numerous different symptoms and they present in different ways for different people. Could be things like hallucinations, could be feeling like you've done something and you haven't, like that lady who thinks she's hurting her neighbour because she didn't lock her front door, That's a true psychosis. Spiritual psychosis, people are using this term so liberally that it's problematic, and I need to address it, to be honest. Now, people use the term to dismiss other practitioners, other spiritual people, to say that, well, you're an idiot, you're full of shit, basically, trying to put down someone else's beliefs. Now, sometimes beliefs can be silly little things. We aren't all going to agree. We aren't all going to believe in the same thing. And there are some far-fetched ideas out there, things like reality shifting. I'm sorry, that is far-fetched to me, and I've spoke about that before. Things like pop culture deities, a little bit less far-fetched, but still pretty far-fetched. It can be comforting, and it's something that is used within mental health to help people, not pop culture deities per se, but calling upon certain archetypes, your favourite character, if it's a comfort, in a mental health capacity, not worshipping them like a god. There are some far out there things. And there are some far out there delusions. People do have delusions. Now I would call it delusion over psychosis sometimes. It's going to be rare that it's a full-blown psychosis, okay? Delusions of people believing that they are, God's spouse to 20,000 different deities. I don't know. I've met people who have a little harem of gods and deities going on. You're lucky if you've got one. And if you are God's spouse to one deity, it is a very serious lifelong commitment. It is not something that you just do at 19 and suddenly you're married to Apollo and Lucifer and Loki and Ares and Hermes and goodness knows who else. That's what you see on TikTok. And that, I wouldn't call it a psychosis still. I'd call it a delusion. It's someone living in a fantasy. It's escapism. Other people might like to write fan fiction. Other people might like to go to Disneyland. Hey, I love Disneyland. It's a good form of escapism. Someone else might like to read a book, but someone else might take it that step further into delusion. There's a whole subculture of other things I've seen as well, which I may do a video on at some point. Kind of spiritual, kind of not, Therian thing where people think they were animals or something. To be honest, I feel mostly like it's kids role playing and it's a form of escapism. Let's face it, the world we live in isn't the kindest world. It's easy to escape. So I wouldn't call that a psychosis still. I really wouldn't. I would say, all right, they're a bit deluded, but each to their own. Some people may call me deluded for what I believe in. There are people out there who are staunch religious people. There are people out there who are atheists and think everyone's deluded that believes in higher power. We're not all going to agree. Does that mean that we're all suffering with a psychosis? No, it doesn't. Now, a psychosis would come into effect, I feel, when it's more than just a delusion. When it's really impacting you and when you're just stressed and you're suffering and you're passing that on to other people as well. Think of cult leaders. That's a psychosis. You genuinely think you are the second coming of Christ, or you are an alien that is going to save the world or something. I don't know. There's been some crazy cult leaders in the world, hasn't there? That is full-blown psychosis to me. And the victims of that, like the lady I mentioned, who I just by coincidence have dealt with, who was in a cult, who thinks she's going to burn the house down and hurt her neighbours and all these things because of stuff. That is psychosis. I just feel like a lot of the internet gets a term. It could be narcissist, it could be gaslighting, it could be spiritual psychosis, a buzz term, and uses it so flippantly when it really isn't. It isn't a flippant thing. So I wanted to explain what it actually is and feels like and can be like for different people to actually have a psychosis and how serious and debilitating that is. Whereas a delusion, well, it is what it is. It's deluded. Like, get on with it. You're not hurting anyone. Believe what you want. Bye. Psychosis is somebody hurting and potentially hurting others. And that isn't all that popular to what the term is. It's not as common as people make it out to be. So what is spiritual psychosis? It's when somebody is warping reality for themselves and for others potentially as well. Not always for others, but potentially. And that's what you got to look out for. If you've got any questions about this, please let me know. It was asked of me ages ago what it actually really means, and I've been meaning to cover it for a little while, and I am now. So if you've got any questions about it, let me know. Any other questions, let me know. Feel free, put them in the comments. If you want to learn more about spirituality and witchcraft, I do have several playlists. I've got a beginner's playlist for a spiritual journey and a witchy journey. Check it out if you're new to all of this. And if you made it this far, subscribe. And until next time, stay safe, stay witchy. Bye-bye.